Part of the problem in modern Jewish thinking, especially in the yeshiva world and among religious Jews, is gadolatry. Gadolatry means worship not of idols. That would be idolatry. Gadolatry is worship of the Gdolim, the Gadol. And it is true. The Mishnah says, Aseh lecharab, one should have a teacher, right? But the authority of the teacher is in the teacher presenting the halakha to the student. If the teacher now doesn't present the halakha to the student, but rather presents something else, then there is no authority for the teacher. And yet, in the yeshiva world, there is this idea, as the Gadol said. So, an example is the idea that the Gadol said, the Rosh Yeshiva said, we don't have to serve in the army, even though it's a milchemet mitzvah, and even though according to the halakha, clearly, and it's not even a question, it's not even debatable, there can be no intellectual discussion on what the halakha says, that of course they must serve in the army, just like anyone else. Afilu chatan mechupato has to serve in the army. And we see throughout history how all the Hachamim, Saddiqim, Shebechol Davado, they were at the forefront of the war, right? So I'm not here to explain why that is the halakha that they must serve in the army. I'm here to point out that there was a problem. The problem is gadolatry. And there is a gadol, and the gadol overrides Jewish law. So it doesn't matter what Jewish law says. The gadol says we don't have to serve in the army. What is the result of this? The result is we're having a new form of Reform Judaism, where in the past, the Reform Judaism that was in Germany was explicitly going against the mitzvot in the Torah, meaning they selected mitzvot that they thought were good, and then they rejected mitzvot which they didn't think were good. And now we have, I would humbly say, an even more pernicious form of Reform Judaism, in as much as the Reform Judaism today, it cloaks itself in the clothing of the pious, right? So this Reform Judaism is just like the Reform Judaism in Germany. We don't like the mitzvah of milchemet mitzvah, so we are not going to serve in the army. We don't like the idea that the Torah requires an individual to work, to support himself, right? We don't like that. We're going to nevertheless be avechei kolelim and force people against their will to finance their desire not to work. So this is the new Reform Judaism. The new Reform Judaism is based upon gadolatry. If there was no gadolatry, you wouldn't have the possibility of Reform Judaism. And gadolatry is really an attempt by, I would say, shallow individuals, immature individuals, to escape responsibility, because there's nothing more beautiful than the Rebbe said, oh, wow, that is such devotion, that is such loyalty to the Rebbe. The Rebbe said, and now you're just suspending all judgment. I'm just going to do what the Rebbe told me to do. That's a problem, because when you go to Olam Haba, the Rebbe ain't going to be there greeting you. There's going to be somebody greeting you, and it ain't necessarily the Rebbe. And when they judge you in Olam Haba, they're not going to say, what did the Rebbe tell you? But rather they're going to say, what did you as an individual actually do? And if the answer is, the Rebbe said, that's not going to be an excuse. That's not going to be a vindication of a lifestyle that was anti-Torah. So it's very important to keep in mind what gadolatry is. It's a type of idolatry. It's instead of worship of an individual. It's escape from responsibility, and it's leading to a reform type of Judaism. And I want to give you an example of gadolatry. And you see, there's like no question, of course, studying Torah protects Am Yisrael. Studying Torah protects us. We should have a group of people studying Torah all the time. I am of the opinion, and I believe in this very, very firmly, that every individual, every Jew has an obligation to study Torah yomam v'layla, ve'harita bo yomam v'layla. But that obligation to study Torah doesn't detract from one's obligations to perform the mitzvot. So a person can say, I don't want to do kibbud avayim because I'm studying Torah. I don't want to put on tefillin because I'm studying Torah. I don't want to pray shahri because I'm studying Torah. Unless, of course, you're Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. I haven't seen any Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochais walking around the streets, at least not recently, right? I don't want to do this and this myself because I'm studying Torah. So this whole idea that is almost accepted as truth. Oh, I'm studying Torah, so therefore that is an excuse for not serving in the army or for not performing this or that mitzvah. No. The reason we study Torah is to perform the mitzvot of the Torah. So you see how the gadolatry is taking people away from the actual purpose of Talmud Torah. Well, one of the purposes is to acquire wisdom, knowledge of God. The other purpose is to perform the mitzvot, right? So they've turned the yeshiva bachars, Ponovich, they've turned into this Socrates-type institution where, let's study these philosophical ideas. Perhaps I'm giving them too much credit in that comparison, but nevertheless, I digress. And it doesn't matter what I do, it just matters what I say. So this is important. I want to speak about gadolatry more perhaps in some future videos, but at this point, I think you understand what the problem is with gadolatry and how Hashem looks at us as individuals and we're judged as individuals. Gadolatry just ain't gonna cut it.